After chapter 123 of Attack on Titan, it seems as though this manga is getting ready to wrap up, and it seems like it's going out with a bang, because this chapter yet again, Eren Yeager, I cannot stress enough how much this character has changed. The perception of this character has changed. He's grown, developed, and he went from, I ain't gonna lie, it was like, alright, whatever, Eren, cool, you want your revenge and blah blah blah, to this dude is a monster, and I love it. Seeing everything in this chapter yet again, seeing what really turned him, you know, the final straw that broke the camel's back to becoming the monster that he is absolutely insane. Let's talk that Attack on Titan greatness, chapter 123. I still can't believe it, damn it. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. So like I said in the beginning of this video, yes, Attack on Titan chapter 123. It seems as though if there was a question that any Attack on Titan manga reader had up until this point on who is Eren Yeager, what is he really all about, what is his ultimate goal, this chapter answered that, and it gave a lot of context. Because the chapter starts off and I'm like, oh, okay, we're going into flashback territory again, and it was showing the very first time they went outside of the walls to the land of Marley, and just kind of, I believe it was the land of Marley, and just kind of seeing what was going on outside of the world, and or outside of the walls of Paradise Island. And you could tell that what Eren experienced and the prejudice and racism against the Eldian kind, his people, it changed him. It was finally the straw that broke the camel's back, because he already went through a lot. You gotta just, you know, put into context what this character's been through up until this point. From when he was early on very little, of course him and Armin wanted to travel outside of the walls, and it felt like a pipe dream. Then of course seeing his mother slaughtered, his homeland destroyed by the Titans, it was the trigger that set forth that vengeance that he wanted. And then of course getting his father's memories and everything that happened with the, you know, the colossal Titan and armor Titan returning again, him training with the Survey Corps. Every single element of this manga that the main character Eren Yeager went through, it really shaped who he is today. And I gotta give nothing but props to Isayama for how very well written this main character is. Like, I've seen transformations in manga, I've seen characters grow, but the way it was done, it didn't feel unbelievable. It felt like every step of the way built and added on to who this character has ultimately become. And this chapter yet again, it was crazy. So, you know, we go and we see the flashback and them going to Marley for the first time, and, you know, seeing like, what the hell is ice cream? And every time I see Sasha, I'm like, R.I.P. Potato Girl, why it had to be her, why? But, you know, see the flashback, it just showed, and it gave the final perspective, because you got to think about it, right? Eren's had this dream for a long time of getting outside of these walls and seeing the ocean, and just once he found out that there was life outside of these walls and there was actually a world that he's never seen before, you got to think he was already like, okay, questioning like, well, so what's going on there? And of course he knew about the prejudice, he knew about a lot of things based on having Grisha's memories and all the memories transferred to him of all these years of everything that, you know, this world has become. So going to this actual place already, he's going to be questioning things. But to actually see how harsh these people really were, because you got to imagine when he saw the little kid that they were ready to beat him to death over stealing a wallet, over being a pickpocket, and, you know, Levi had to kind of quell the situation by making up a lie, and how these people were just absolutely bigoted, disgusting, prejudiced pieces of trash, that they hated the Eldians so much that even a little innocent kid that, you know, he's poor, he's broke, they were willing to bash his brains in and kill him for being basically a product of his environment. So then that's one of the things that already adds to his ever-growing hatred and despising of everything that has cornered him throughout his life. Again, the dude's been through a lot, you know what I'm saying? So you got that. Then he goes and he sees the broken down Eldian home. Then I love how Eren started really becoming one with his people. You see in this chapter when, you know, there's a lot of places to go, but he wants to go to the broken down sector where they got basically the Eldians that live on Marley, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, he parties with them and he loves being around them, and, you know, you just see that he really becomes one with his people. He loves his people at that particular point. He feels bad for the circumstances that they've been through, and you see them partying and getting drunk with them and getting messed up. It's like, yo, you could tell that Eren grew a major I guess you could say he has so much sympathy because he's also, one of them in a way. Obviously, he was confined to the island of Paradise, but at the end of the day, seeing what's become of his people on the other side, outside of the walls, is that they were living in a nightmare of their own as well, in poverty and just terrible conditions of what the Marley had put them through and what the world. And then that summit, I think the summit was definitely the final calling to Eren, a call to action, so to speak, because at that particular point he knew there's no hope. They're at this summit talking about, oh man, some of these people are misunderstood and they're casualties of the war. The real evil is the people of Paradise Island. That is Eren's home. That's where his family, and he knows at the end of the day. And a lot of this, if you just look at it, is so many misunderstandings. It seems as though one of the biggest things that has created the hatred with some of these people, because a lot of people, they don't really know the truth. They don't know that at the end of the day, people on Paradise Island are just like them. They're normal people. So they're just filled with hatred for people that they didn't even know. So when he's there at that summit and hearing the way they're talking about his people and where he's from, and basically saying that they're the ones, they're the problem, that was the final straw for him. I feel as though that was the straw that broke the camel's back and made Eren decide whatever it is that he has to do, it has to be a major impact to this world, and he needed to change the world. It couldn't just be enough to get outside of the walls. If that was his primary objective from the beginning of the story, to get through and get out of these walls and see what's going on outside of these walls, now it was like, okay, I see what's outside and it's just as ugly in a different aspect. It's not like man-eating titans, but it's a bunch of bigoted, hating people that despise my kind. And I also felt as though it was a very strong point, the interaction between Mikasa and Eren, and it seems as though it gave Mikasa a little bit more perspective on who Eren is, because at the end of the day, you got to think, up until this point, Eren was constantly being saved by Mikasa. She had nothing but blind love and admiration for him. She was damn near a yandere for this guy. If you don't know what a yandere is, like a chick that loves a dude so much she's willing to kill anybody for the dude. She's crazy, and that's Mikasa exhibited those traits for Eren. And when they had that conversation back and forth, and Mikasa was like, or Eren was like, what am I to you? Is it just because I saved you as a child, or are we family? And you could tell Mikasa was there like flustered. I love that moment. I really appreciate the fact, because even though Attack on Titan is technically a shonen, it totally exhibits traits of a seinen. The fact that they were addressing certain issues like that, where a shonen, I mean, lately they've kind of been dabbling outside of that, but for the most part, they don't really go too far into the relationship aspects. And Mikasa's like, nah, we family, which I'm sure she wanted a little bit more than family with him, but that's not for me to discuss, right? And it just seems as though with that particular portion of the chapter that it was giving even more cementing of who Eren Yeager is. He's an avenger for his people. He's kind of a breaker of chains, so to speak. Not to get too Game of Thronesy with it, but it definitely feels as though that was the last thing with the summit, that he knew he had to do something to save his people, because everybody is just despising them and hating them. And if he would have continued to go along with the way the Survey Corps wanted to do, and his government from where he's at, he feels as though, and he felt as though, things wouldn't have gotten done. He felt as though the only one that's going to be able to change things is me. He took destiny of his whole entire people into his hands at that particular point. And then of course it'll lead us off to where we were in the story when we got the time skip, and Eren is like, hiding out in Marley and doing all these crazy things, because that was the time where he finally said, nah, I can't leave it up to these people anymore. And honestly, this chapter truly, in every shape and form, was decisive on this is who Eren Yeager was. Because remember, we was even under the assumption for a long time, until we figured out that he really wasn't rocking with him, that he was down with Zeke's cause, that he was like, alright, let's just go with this euthanization process. And it's crazy that Eren was an agent, a double all along, that he wasn't really rocking with the way the Survey Corps was trying to go. He also was definitely not rocking with the cause that his brother was trying to push. He had his own objective, and that was to save his people by any means necessary, on some like, and please don't take this, but it just gave me like some really breaking, going for freedom by any means, on some like Malcolm X type of deal. And I loved it. I absolutely adore. I think Eren Yeager is one of the best main characters in any shonen manga period, for where he was, where he felt like almost a vanilla, just like he's not that special, he just wants vengeance and blah blah blah, to all along this man, he grew into a monster, but a monster for his people, of the ones that he loves and wants to protect. So it seems as though when Mikasa was like, what side of Eren was he showing you all along? He was showing you a side of a confused kid that was trying to understand it all and put everything together, but also at the same time, the fact that he does care about his people. And I think it was the world and his circumstances that molded him into what he ultimately became. And this chapter, I can't stress enough, like, probably one of the best chapters yet again of this series. Well, I don't want to say one of the best chapters of the series, because it's been like half a year at the very least of almost every chapter has just been absolute amazing, great with the progression of the story, great with moving things along. And this chapter yet again, this is end game stuff. This is stuff where you say, okay, yeah, Attack on Titan ain't gonna last much longer. There's no way. It can't. It got so many things that have moved since the beginning, so many things that we've been wanting to see, and this chapter delivering even more, with Eren finally using the founding Titans powers. That this has been how many years we've been waiting to see what's going to happen, when, you know, they were like, well, Eren really can't dispose of it, you know, he can't really use it to the best of ability because he doesn't have the royal blood in him, to so many things. So to finally see that whatever it was, finally had that conversation with Ymir in last chapter, that it really gave him the opportunity and the powers that he needed to make the great change that he ultimately seeks. And boy, the rumbling begins, seeing all the Titans coming from all the walls knocked down and everything. And I love how Eren wasn't just making a small play. He knew that this is endgame. He knew, if I don't do exactly what I need to do now, probably never have this opportunity again, and who knows what's gonna happen. Because mind you, they just decapitated dude in the last couple chapters. Like, what was it, 3 or 4 chapters ago, where he got his head chopped off? So at this point, he knew what he had to do, and he went to the extreme, because Armin and Mikasa, they're like, what the heck? Like, yo, the Wall Maria just was knocked down, all these walls is going down, and Eren is like, I gotta save my people, baby, and has the Titans marching. And basically his plot is to knock out everything that has a problem with Paradise, destroy the rest of the world to save his people. And it's a ballsy move, it's a crazy move, it's insane. I can't stress enough how much I love this chapter. This chapter was just boom, the founding Titans powers. And it's good that Armin and Mikasa, even though they had their doubts about him for a bit, because, you know, the thing that he did to Mikasa, the way he acted and everything, yeah, I'd be having some doubts on dude too. Like, yo, what are you really on? You seem like you're following your brother Zeke's path. Like, what's going on? But I'm glad before he relayed his message to everybody that they still kind of believed in him. It was like, that was perfect timing. So that way you can't have the argument, well, damn, they were kind of shitty friends, you know. They doubted him, but at the end of the day, just before he relayed his message, they believed in him. So it was good in that aspect. So it doesn't, you know, kind of make them look like, y'all kind of sucked as friends. No more. We're gonna destroy everything outside of here. So I don't want to be completely like, I understand that there's a lot of prejudice that has put his people in a very horrible situation, but you got to think that Marley people are people too. They're just with this miscommunication to believe that people of Ymir and people from Paradise Island are evil. They don't know that y'all just want to live just like them. So it's like, at the same time, on the flip side of it, Eren's about to become the biggest murderer in the history of this world, probably more so than any of the damage that the Titans have done, because he's using the rumbling and all the Titans from the wall to destroy the rest of the world to save his people in Paradise Island. And this was the resolve and the conclusion that he came to of what he needed to do. And this chapter of Attack on Titan, this is endgame zone right now. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. There's a lot of theories. Cutting back to the very beginning of this manga, where Eren woke up and he was like, oh, your hair is short, and stuff like that. Seems as though something drastic is gonna happen. And I don't know if in the process of all this, there's a possibility that the Titans could end up killing Mikasa and Armin, or people that he cares about, because the rumbling, like you got who knows how many Titans marching, and this is gonna bring catastrophe. And I'm starting to wonder, this is one big thing that I'm starting to wonder, if Isayama, through his interviews, the creator of Attack on Titan, writer of Attack on Titan, Hajime Isayama, if he hasn't kind of misled us in a bit. Because it goes back to something where I remember they were talking about the ending, and how he had this ending planned of, it was gonna be tragic, he was gonna basically make it so that everyone in the series died, like he was gonna kill off everybody. Who knows if that's still a possibility? Who knows if he's going to have it where this rumbling causes massive damage, and Marley's of course gonna try and fire back. They're not gonna completely go down without a fight. So maybe a lot of, if not all of the main characters are gonna die, but then also there's possibility of the time loop aspect that has kind of been explored a bit. Who knows if this is all gonna lead to Eren waking up again in the past and having to redo this all over. Maybe the manga will end just like that. We're screwed. As long as Eren continues to make this resolve and this decision, we're gonna keep on reliving this. So I'm not exactly sure, but I gotta say, Attack on Titan 2019 has been this manga's year. This is arguably the best manga of 2019. It's just been play after play, endgame zones. The walls is down now. Eren is using the power of the founding Titan. The rumbling is going on. Mikasa and Armin are kind of like puzzled right now, like what the heck, you really going this far? He's willing to slaughter and sacrifice the rest of the world to save his people that have been oppressed and have faced segregation and prejudice all this time. And this is freaking crazy. I'm curious what you guys think about this though. How do you feel about Eren, of what he's trying to accomplish using the rumbling and where he's trying to go with this? Do you feel as though it's way too far? Do you think that we're gonna have more casualties from the side of our, you know, the Eldians, like the people that we actually care about, the main cast? I mean, I could honestly see Isayama has trolled us this entire time. I could see that as a possibility, and yeah, maybe he is gonna kill off everybody. Maybe the rumbling is gonna do some horrible stuff and we're gonna see the deaths of anybody that opposes this idea. And at the same time, Eren's form, it looks so gross but crazy that he has now that he has the powers of the founding Titan Ymir. And man, Attack on Titan chapter 123, your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of this series. We probably got, I want to say 10 chapters max more. It could be even further than that. I don't know if this is going to launch an all-out war where people, because remember, it's not only Marley, there's a few other surrounding groups that could fire back, and it's gonna be a war zone. But this also could be the extinction of the Titans. You got to think about it. If you got most of the Titans that were on the island, I think all of them actually, Paradise Island, that were like, you know, just normal Titans, have already been slaughtered. Then the Titans inside the walls right now, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna try to fight back. So you get rid of them, this could be the extinction of it if there's no more of that serum to turn the people of Ymir into Titans. And I don't believe that there's really many scientists at this point, on our side at the very least, that would be able to do anything. I don't even think Marley really knows how to create that serum. This is insane. I can't believe we reached this point. The rumbling, the walls is down. Break the walls down. Oh. But that's all I have for this one though. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links of course are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And Attack on Titan, baby. I'm at a loss of words. This is so good. Enjoy the next ride, but I was the best ride. But I